Another college football season is upon us. For those of you who are regular viewers, or if you only tune in to the channel during the football season, welcome back. It is great to see you again, and I look forward to enjoying another college football season together. For those of you that are listening to this channel for the very first time, I am Johnny Sports Network, and I have a strong feeling that this college football season is going to be a very unique one, and it will be a very unforgettable season. I think it will be one for the ages for a few reasons. For starters, this is the first season with the 12-team college football playoff, which I do think that there are a lot of benefits to a 12-team college football playoff that I think will outweigh the negatives. For example, hopefully, maybe 5, 10 years down the line, we'll see programs schedule tougher non-conference opponents instead of the group of five opponents, the FCS opponents. And this is also a year of conference realignment. Oklahoma and Texas to the SEC, Washington, Oregon, USC, and UCLA to the Big Ten, Stanford, California, and SMU to the ACC, and Utah, Arizona, and Arizona State to the Big 12, and Colorado is returning to the Big 12 Conference. And I know there are a lot more movements to conferences, but I just wanted to mainly cover the power conference moves. And if there was somebody I forgot, I do apologize. Without further ado, let's get to the week 0 college football predictions. And I am going to predict the games in a different order. I'm going to start with Delaware State and Hawaii, and then go to Montana State and New Mexico, SMU and Nevada, and concluding things with the game of the week, Florida State and Georgia Tech in Dublin, Ireland. Kicking things off with Delaware State and Hawaii, and this will be the final game of the day. Kickoff time is set for 11:59 a.m. Eastern Time. For Hawaii, this is the third season for Timmy Chang as the head coach. Hawaii is returning 15 starters, 8 on offense and 7 on defense. Quarterback Braden Shager, 3,542 passing yards in 2023, which was 13th in the FBS. And this matchup to me just feels like a no-brainer, as 7 of the 8 wins under Timmy Chang at Hawaii have been at home. Hawaii is 9-0 against FCS teams since 2014. Meanwhile, Delaware State went 1-11 in 2023. In fact, they have not finished above 500 since 2012. To break down their record by year ever since 2012, 5-6 in 2013, 2-10 in 2014, 1-10 in 2015, 0-11 in 2016, 2-9 in 2017, 3-8 in 2018, 2-10 in 2019, 2-3 in 2020, 5-6 in 2021, 5-6 in 2022, and 1-11 last year, for a combined record of 28-90 in that span. And this is one of the few opportunities Hawaii has at winning this season, as I really want to see Hawaii show improvements, and I do think that Hawaii will be improved from last season, but the question is how much. As Hawaii, they do return 2 of their top receivers from last season, Stephen McBride, who had 1,024 receiving yards in 2023, and Potele Ashlock had 83 receptions in 2023. And I think Hawaii is going to win this game convincingly. I will be surprised if Delaware State keeps this game close. I know that Hawaii hasn't exactly been a top tier football program for the longest time. And historically, they really haven't, except for a few good seasons back in the day. But I think Hawaii wins this game very convincingly. Up next, Montana State and New Mexico. For New Mexico, this is the first game under Bronco Mendenhall. They returned 9 starters, 6 on offense and 3 on defense. But they did lose running back Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, who had 1,190 rushing yards and 17 touchdowns in 2023. Those are going to be very tough shoes to fill. It'll be interesting to see how New Mexico looks, not only this week, but throughout the entire season. Montana State right now is a 10.5 point favorite in this matchup. And I had to do quite a bit of research, I will admit, to figure out why is an FCS team in Montana State a 10.5 point favorite on the road against an FBS team in New Mexico. Well, Montana State, they returned their top 4 rushers from 2023. 3 of their starting 5 offensive linemen from 2023, 7 defensive starters from 2023, and 11 out of their top 15 tacklers from 2023. Also, for Montana State, quarterback Tommy Mellott. It's either Mellott or Mellott. I think it's Mellott if I had to guess. He missed some time in 2023 due to an injury, but in 2022, he had 1,437 passing yards, 8 touchdown passes, and 4 interceptions. But he also had 1,035 rushing yards and 13 touchdowns in 2022. Also, backup quarterback Jordan Reed, a 6'6", 215-pound frame. Will he see some snaps in this game? And there are people that think that New Mexico is going to be one of the worst teams in the FBS in 2024, which I can understand why people would feel that way. I feel like that this may be a bit of maybe misleading, but I'm going to pick Montana State to win. And it's not because they're favored by 10.5. I just feel like the pace of the game, I think, is going to favor Montana State as the game goes along. When you think about how they have their top 4 rushers returning from 2023, I feel like a lot of the times it's best to run the football constantly, maybe to get the nerves out as this is the start of the season. And I'm picking Montana State because I feel like the pace of the game will favor Montana State when it is all said and done. SMU and Nevada. SMU has won 5 consecutive season openers, their last 3 on the road. However, they are 0-2 in Reno, Nevada. They returned 15 starters from 2023, 8 on offense and 7 on defense. Quarterback Preston Stone completed less than 60% of his passes last season, but he did only throw 6 interceptions last year. And I am intrigued to see if Preston Stone is going to be more accurate than last season, and if he does become more accurate than last season, how much, as this is SMU's first season in the ACC conference. And we have seen crazier things happen in college football. You never know, maybe SMU can make some noise in the ACC. You just never know with college football. Nevada, they went 2-10 last season. They returned 12 starters, 6 on offense and 6 on defense. They also have a new head coach, Jeff Choate. He was recently the co-defensive coordinator and the inside linebackers coach at Texas. Before that, from 2016 to 2020, he was the head coach at Montana State. And now he is at Nevada for his first FBS coaching experience. There were question marks as far as who was going to start at quarterback for this matchup on Saturday. Was it going to be Brandon Lewis or Florida State and Nebraska transfer Chubba Purdy? And it was announced this morning that Brandon Lewis will be the starting quarterback on Saturday for the Wolfpack, as Chubba Purdy has been dealing with a shoulder injury. And last season, Brandon Lewis, he only threw 2 touchdown passes, and he threw 6 interceptions. He did, however, have 4 rushing touchdowns last season on 177 rushing yards. As far as this matchup is concerned, this feels like a no-brainer for me. I'm going to pick SMU. I am not worried about the fact that they are 0-2 in Reno, Nevada. The history is on my side with SMU winning their last 5 consecutive season openers, their last 3 on the road. I just wonder how competitive this game is going to be, because SMU is significantly favored, and it's for good reason, as SMU, they have the coaching experience on their side. Rhett Lashley's been the head coach now for a couple of seasons, while Jeff Choate, it's his first ever game as an FBS head coach. And I would not be surprised if SMU finished this season in the top 25. I do think that SMU, they do have that kind of upside. Despite this being their first year in the ACC, they're moving on to a power conference. I think SMU wins this game pretty handily. I think very convincingly, against a head coach that's making his first appearance as an FBS football coach. Wrapping up the Week 0 college football predictions with the game of the week, Florida State and Georgia Tech in Dublin, Ireland. The last time we saw Florida State on the field, they had an abysmal performance against Georgia in the Orange Bowl. Even though they did sit out a bunch of their starters, I feel like even if their starters did play, I felt like Georgia would have won the game pretty handily anyways, as it felt like Florida State did not want to be there. They felt like they belonged in the college football playoff. Despite being an undefeated Power 5 conference champion, the College Football Playoff Committee left them out of the playoff, and they gave the nod to Alabama instead. And Florida State has lost quite a bit of players from 2023. They lost their top 3 wide receivers, Keon Coleman, Johnny Wilson, and Jaheim Bell. They also lost quarterback Jordan Travis and running back Trey Benson. They lost their top 2 tacklers from last season, as well as Jared Verse. They did, however, acquire DJ Uiagalelei in the transfer portal in the offseason. The Oregon State transfer, Clemson transfer. As DJ Uiagalelei, he has had moments in his college career, some positive and some negative moments. Is Florida State the perfect fit for DJU? That is the question that we will have answered throughout this season. 10 returning starters for Florida State, 5 on offense and 5 on defense. They have also won 12 consecutive ACC conference games. Georgia Tech, they returned 13 starters from 2023, 8 on offense and 5 on defense. And those 8 returning offensive starters includes quarterback Haynes King, the Texas A&M transfer. Last season, he had 27 touchdown passes, and he also had 10 rushing touchdowns in 2023 for the Yellow Jackets. but he did throw 16 interceptions, which is not the number that you want to see as far as interceptions is concerned. I am interested to see if Haynes King is going to cut down on the interceptions this season. They also return their top two wide receivers from 2023. Eric Singleton, he had 48 receptions for 714 yards and 6 touchdowns last season. And Malik Rutherford, he had 46 receptions for 502 yards and 4 touchdowns in 2023. And Georgia Tech was the definition of an inconsistent team last season. They lost to Bowling Green. And they had upset wins over Miami and North Carolina. And they also had close games with Louisville and Georgia last season. I want to acknowledge that Georgia Tech has covered in their last 7 matchups against Florida State. And the reason why I bring that up is because earlier in the offseason, in about June, July, Florida State was a 13.5-point favorite, maybe a 14-point favorite. And the spread has gone down quite a bit up until this point. Right now, Florida State, they're an 11.5-point favorite. So the line has gone down 2 to 2.5 points since the early portion of the summer. I really want to see Haynes King have his moment. A moment where he pulls off a massive upset. And if Georgia Tech were to pull off the upset against Florida State to start the college football season, it's going to be the start of what will be, without a doubt, a memorable college football season and one for the ages. But this Florida State team, they're very angry. They felt like they belonged in the college football playoff last season. The players that are still there, they're going to be motivated. I do think Florida State wins this game. However, I do like Georgia Tech for the cover. Florida State, I feel like they've just lost too much for me to be sold on them right away this season. It's going to take me about maybe 3 or 4 games before I can truly be sold on Florida State this season. I'm taking Florida State for the win, but I do like the value of taking the points in Georgia Tech, the 11.5 points. And that will do it for my Week 0 college football predictions. Enjoy your Week 0. I will be back next week for Week 1, and I am going to actually preview Week 1. Here are the games I'm going to predict for Week 1 next week. North Dakota State and Colorado, Penn State and West Virginia, Georgia, Clemson, Miami and Florida, Notre Dame and Texas A&M, LSU and USC, and Boston College and Florida State. And that's not going to be the order I predict the games in. Those are just the order of when the games will be played. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, have a great one and enjoy Week 0 of the college football season. Glad we have college football back.